Hi guys, how you doing? So, the question today is, are you somebody that feels like they constantly have to please people and constantly have to do stuff for others and put other people first before you put yourself first? Well, today's topic is, where does people pleasing come from? Okay, so we've all grown up and had a childhood. People pleasing stems from childhood and traumatic events in your childhood. So for me, I was a massive people pleaser for many years. And this all stems from your childhood. So if you had a volatile relationship with your parent as a child, if you were maybe physically abused or emotionally abused, or you had a parent who maybe there was domestic violence in your household, and you felt like, so there's different stages. So there's when you have fight or flight mode. So as a child, if you had to speak to a child and you maybe were aggressive or angry or shouting at the child, for example, there's different options that they could take. So the first one would be flight, fight. So they would become aggressive, they'd be angry, they'd fight back, they'd shout at you. Maybe some children do that. The next one would be flight or flee. So if you shy away, you avoid conflict, you don't want to cause any trouble, so you just hide away, that's flee. And then the third one is fawn. So what happens when fawn occurs is, this is where people pleasers become people pleasers. So instead of fighting or being aggressive or being scared and shying away, you tend to try and please the abuser, try and appease them. So then you feel safer. It gives you a sense of safety because you are pacifying them and you are calming them down. So now you pick up that if you constantly are good, do good things, do stuff to please them, then that calms them down, that pacifies them, and you are more safe. You're safe and you don't have to worry about it. So that's the fawning. So that's where people pleasers are created. It could start from your childhood, and when you are a child between the ages of obviously 0 to 7, when you're still little, you are just downloading everything that is happening around you. You are downloading. And what happens if you're constantly telling yourself that I have to do this to please somebody, and you keep doing that? So it starts with the thought, then you have these feelings that I have to do this, it makes me feel safer when I do this, and then it creates a behavior, and this becomes part of your personality. So it will start off as a child, then it will move into your relationships and your friendships. So now you'll try to people please because that's how I get accepted, that's how I get loved, that's how I feel appreciated. So when you do this, you do it with your friends, and then you do it with the people as you get older. As an adult, you do it with your bosses because that's going to please my boss, and you do it with your co-workers. And then it gets to a point where you are just constantly doing stuff for other people to please them, even if you wanted to say no, even if you don't want to do it. So you're putting their feelings before yours. And that's when it becomes really bad. So people pleasing in childhood, it stems from a traumatic event. So it's not normally just one event where, let's say, you were in a car crash and that was a big event and it was very traumatic. It stems from events that keep happening over and over again. So there's constant abuse, there's constantly being spoken down to, there's constant need for validation. So that's what happens in childhood. It can also stem from adolescence, when you are a teenager and you can't seem to make your parents happy. You can't seem to do something that they want you to do. You're constantly trying to please them. You're constantly trying to get approval from them. You're constantly trying to be somebody that they want you to be. And it creates a codependency. So now you put your decisions aside, you follow the career that your parents want, you do what they want you to do, even down to simple decisions like the dinners you have every day. They decide what dinner you have. So everything, and then that's how people become massive people pleasers in life. And it's really difficult to shake off. But as an adult, what happens when you are a people pleaser is you give so much into your relationships, but you don't really get anything back because you're trying to make everybody happy and everything perfect. So you're constantly giving so much, and then you tend to feel overwhelmed in your work situations and your life situations in general. And it's difficult to do anything when you're overwhelmed. You might feel like you're constantly hurt, like people hurt your feelings constantly, but you don't really do anything about it or say anything about it. So you stay in this hurt victim sort of mentality. And a lot of people, because they see you in these situations, they will tend to take advantage of you. And because what we think is what we attract. Yeah. So if you're constantly telling yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not capable enough, oh, that person's just going to walk all over me, your mind brings that to you. So whatever you say out loud, whatever you think in your head, it's your mind's job to validate that for you, to prove to you that you're right. So it doesn't matter what you say, it just has to bring you proof and evidence that what you're saying is right. So when you say these things and you think these things, your boss will come and tell you, oh, you've done a shit job. Or, somebody will ignore you, in a co-worker in the office will ignore you, or whatever, because your mind is showing you things. It shows you the negative stuff so you can be validated, so you can tell you, yes, you're right. Yes, you're correct. And this makes you try to please people more. But the problem is it causes you to be worn down. And because you felt like that as a child and you developed it as your personality, now as an adult, it's hard to shake that feeling that things will ever change. You feel like it's going to be like this forever. This is just how I am. This is just who I am. I am a people pleaser, and that's how it is. But it doesn't have to be that way, because if you carry on like that, as an adult, it leads to lack of self-esteem. It leads to lack of self-confidence. It leads to, you constantly needing and wanting external validation for every single thing that you do. And that is not a good way to live. And you do these things because, you feel like people will accept you and they will give you approval and you won't be rejected by others if you're constantly doing things for them and to them. But that's not the case. That's not the case, because they can't reject you. Only you can reject you. So you don't need constant validation, but because you were brought up like that and it's wired into you, it's coded into you from childhood or adolescence, then it's very hard to shake. I mean, I would always suggest, if you have these feelings and you're struggling with these emotions, that the best thing to do is go and speak to somebody, because if you go to a therapist, they will help you understand it. They'll help you find out where it came from, the root cause of it, and how to deal with it, and give you some coping mechanisms or things on how to change and be better and be able to say no, because no is actually a full sentence. You can say no, and it won't be the end of the world. Yeah? You can do these things. It doesn't have to be total catastrophe if you say no, because you're doing it for yourself. So what you need to do to stop being a people pleaser is to understand that it's not selfish to say no. It's not selfish at all. It's good to say no. You have to create healthy boundaries so people know where your limit is and they stop taking advantage of you. Okay? You also have to try and be your genuine self. Discover who you are and understand what you want. It's not all about others, it's about you. Put yourself first. Yeah? So the major and the most biggest thing that I can suggest, and you might need help with a therapist to do this, but you need to let go of the shame, the blame, and the guilt. And you might say, oh, well, how can there be shame, blame, and guilt when it was somebody else's fault that caused me to be like this? As a child, as a little child, your parent, your carer, the person who is looking after you, they are the one teaching you your world around you. They teaching you how to be, how to grow up. So you see them as the expert. You see them as the knowledge. You see them as they the adult. So when they do something bad, when they shout at you, when they beat you, when they do something in front of you, and you think this is bad, you think, what's wrong with me? You don't think what's wrong with them, because as a child you can't think rationally. You can't think, oh, well, Dad's had a really rubbish day at work, so he's come home and he's really upset. Or we don't have enough money to pay for the bill, so mum is frustrated and she's angry, or whatever it is. We don't think these things as a child. We just think, they shouting and screaming at me, I need to do better. There must be something wrong with me. I'm not enough. I need to do more. I need to be more worthy. I need to be more capable. I need to do more. And a lot of the times in these situations where there's an abusive relationship, whether it's mental abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, these children get this idea that it's I'm not enough, I'm not worthy enough. And they get this feeling of learned helplessness. I want to change something, but I really can't do it. But I really want to change it, but I really can't do it. And they left in the state of learned helplessness. And they stay in that state all the way to adulthood. And as an adult, then they're struggling with their relationships, they're struggling with their life, and they're constantly trying to make everybody happy and put everybody before them. Yeah? So if this is you and you are struggling, at least understand where the people pleasing comes from and what's happened in your past. So it's good to look at it, it's good to release any emotions surrounding it, and it's good to just let go. Speak to somebody, it might help. So I hope this video has helped somebody, and if you do like it, please press the subscribe button, please share, and please comment if it has affected you, or if you feel like something in your past has happened to get you to where you are. Comment below, because your comment could help somebody else too. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.